In a vibrant part of town, where the streets were always bustling and full of life, a 10-year-old black boy named Malik was walking after school. The sun was slowly setting, casting a golden glow on the dilapidated facades of the buildings, where faded posters were peeling away from time and bad weather. The air was filled with the mingled scent of street food, dust and gasoline, while the sound of horns and lively conversations formed a familiar urban symphony. Dressed in his worn uniform, a faded polo shirt and 2 short pants that showed his thin ankles, Malik moved forward at a leisurely pace. His half-torn shoes squeaked slightly with each step, revealing the traces of time and wear, testifying to the many days spent walking between school and home. His worn canvas satchel, patched in several places with pieces of colorful fabric, beat against his back to the rhythm of his steps, adding a dull noise to the surrounding atmosphere. Despite his modest appearance, Malik was no ordinary child. Under his tousled black curls and his big curious eyes hid a soul marked by early responsibilities. He lived with his mother, Aisha, a courageous woman with a tired look but an indomitable heart, who worked as a housekeeper in a downtown hotel. Their modest apartment, nestled on the top floor of a decrepit building, was a haven of peace where love reigned despite difficulties. Aisha had passed on invaluable values to him: honesty, dignity, and kindness towards others. She often told him, "What you have in your heart is worth more than all the gold in the world." Malik, although often deprived of the material luxuries that other children took for granted, possessed a heart of gold and an eye capable of seeing beauty where others saw only banality. He knew that true wealth lay in simple gestures, sincere smiles, and selfless acts of kindness. That day, on his way home from school, his path took him through a small park with sparse trees, whose yellowing leaves formed a carpet under his feet. The laughter of children playing ball echoed in the distance, while pigeons pecked at crumbs scattered on the cobblestone paths. That's when his gaze fell on a leather handbag lying casually on a peeling wooden bench. The bag was elegant, of good quality, with a finely engraved gold key ring that glinted faintly in the last rays of sunlight. It seemed to have been forgotten by someone, perhaps in a hurry. Malik stopped abruptly, scanning his surroundings. There was no one in the immediate vicinity. Heart pounding, he approached cautiously, his fingers brushing against the cold leather. He looked around one last time, then picked up the bag carefully. His instincts told him he had to find his owner. However, a dull worry crept into him. He knew that carrying a bag of this value could attract suspicious looks. He could already imagine the silent accusations, the judgments in the eyes of passers-by. But he didn't hesitate. His mother's voice echoed in his head, "Do what's right, even when no one is watching." So he set out in search of the owner of the bag, running through the crowded streets of the city. His little legs worked in a frantic rhythm, not out of fear of the effort, but out of fear of being misunderstood. The bag seemed heavier than he had imagined, not so much because of its contents, but because of the invisible weight of the prejudices he feared facing. After walking several streets, at the bend of a busy intersection, he finally saw a woman walking with a hurried step. She wore a crisp dark suit, her hair neatly pulled into a sleek bun, and large sunglasses obscured her gaze. His appearance betrayed a certain confidence, that of people accustomed to being listened to and respected. "Madam! Madam!" Malik shouted, running towards her, his breath short and his heart racing. The woman turned around suddenly, surprised to see a young boy running in her direction. His face showed an expression mixed with curiosity and annoyance. "Yes, boy, what's going on?" she asked in a dry voice, visibly irritated by this sudden interruption. Malik, panting, held the bag up in front of him like a fragile trophy. "You've lost something," he said, his voice tinged with a disarming sincerity. The woman stared at him for a moment, her gaze behind the glasses sliding from the bag to the boy's face. A look of suspicion briefly crossed her features before she lowered her glasses to get a better look at the bag. She seemed hesitant at first, as if she doubted Malik's sincerity. Then, recognizing the gold keyring, she reached out and grabbed the bag hastily. "It's mine, thank you," she finally replied, her tone softening slightly, but without the warmth Malik might have hoped for. She seemed relieved, quickly checking inside the bag to make sure nothing was missing. She looked at him again, Her eyebrows furrowed slightly. "I suppose you're expecting a reward," she said sarcastically, a condescending smile touching her lips. Malik blushed, looking down, embarrassed. He had not returned the bag to receive anything in return. He only wanted to do what was right. "No, ma'am, I just wanted to give you back your bag," he whispered in a soft voice. The woman stared at him for a moment, her gaze oscillating between surprise and a touch of emotion. She seemed almost taken aback by his response, as if she was unaccustomed to such selfless generosity. In a world where everything seemed tradable, where every service had a price, the spontaneity of Malik's gesture touched her in a way she couldn't explain. After a short pause, she let out a slight smile and turned to him. "Well, if you insist. Not everyone would do that. Okay, I'll give you something to thank you." She reached into her purse, her fingers brushing against various items before pulling out a $10 bill. She handed it to Malik with a kind look. The boy looked down at the note, then back up at her. His gaze was clear, sincere, imbued with a rare humility for his age. He didn't need the money. What he had done out of pure kindness, without expectation of reward. "Thank you, but I don't want the money," he murmured shyly. "I did it because it was the right thing to do." The woman remained silent for a moment, examining Malik with new attention. It wasn't just his response that struck her, but the sincerity that emanated from it. There was neither calculation nor false modesty in his words.
Just a simple and disarming truth.
She watched him walk away slowly, a slight smile on his lips, but just as he was about to disappear into the crowd, she took a step forward and called out to him.
"Wait a minute."
Malik stopped and turned around, intrigued. The woman approached him, her eyes sparkling with a new light. "I think you are a very special boy. I'll give you something else, something you might really enjoy." She leaned over and handed him a carefully wrapped cardboard box.
"Open it when you get home."
Malik took the box carefully, clutching it to him like a precious treasure. He looked up at the woman, trying to understand what she had just offered him, but she just gave him a knowing smile. "Thank you, ma'am," he breathed with sincere gratitude. Then, without waiting, he started running towards home, his heart beating with excitement and curiosity. When he finally arrived home, he rushed into the living room and sat on the couch with the box in front of him. He took a deep breath, then, with measured movements, he slowly undid the packaging. Inside, his eyes widened in amazement. A pair of new, impeccable sneakers, the most beautiful he had ever seen. Malik couldn't believe his eyes. He had often dreamed of having a pair like these, but he knew his parents couldn't afford such a purchase. He took them delicately in his hands, admiring every detail, the impeccable fabric, the sturdy soles, the smell of new that still hung in the air. He immediately put them on and stood up, testing their comfort. They fit him perfectly, as if they were tailor-made for him. He smiled widely, feeling a new warmth in his heart. It wasn't just a pair of sneakers. It was a symbol. A sign that selfless kindness was paying off, that in this often harsh world, a simple act of kindness could be seen, appreciated and rewarded in the most beautiful way. The next morning, he went to school with his new sneakers on his feet. As soon as he entered the courtyard, the eyes of his comrades converged on him. "Wow, they are incredible!" exclaimed one of them. "Where did you find this?" asked another, envious but curious. Malik smiles, his eyes shining with humble pride. "I simply returned a lost bag to a lady," he replied.
The story spread like wildfire.
Very quickly, the whole neighborhood knew the young boy with the big heart who, without expecting anything in return, had made a simple but powerful gesture. The woman, for her part, never forgot him. That day, it wasn't just Malik who received something valuable. She too.
AOP, a renewed fight in humanity.
And maybe, thanks to one simple boy and one act of kindness, the world had become, if only for a moment, a slightly better place.